Men like you are why I fought the Cog.
The Open Arms program may have given you our uniform, but you and I remain enemies.
Let's settle this like enemies, then.
The dominant species will prevail. Always.
Hey! Are you the Marcus Phoenix?
When it comes to popular franchises and entertainment, there are some that have enormity or pure size in their lore. Take Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, or Harry Potter for examples that rapidly grew in scope and popularity that audiences often crave additional material from their actual creators that supplements the world of the main story. Franchises with rich universes that can help satisfy the desire for more stories, expanding on events, characters, and move it forward. This is known as the expanded universe. At times, they aren't always the best quality compared to its contained media source, and sometimes they would contradict and retcon each other in ways, but if done with a careful hand and respect, they can solidify a clear central storyline. And a great example of this performance done proficiently comes from the well-crafted mixture of horror, 80s action hero, and science fiction Gears of War, a video game franchise taking place on a planet called Serra that is somewhat similar to Earth, about a history of conflicts that took the planet to the brink of destruction, focused on humanity's effort to defeat many outside entities or its allies as means of saving civilization. Since Gears of War launched in 2006 to huge critical acclaim, blockbuster success, and one of the top 3 most played games on Xbox the following year, the franchise went beyond video games since its introduction. And with 7 years of books and comics of expanded material of content, it's high time we introduce an all-new generation. One that is absolutely and truthfully starved of good stories and classical exemplars of heroism. Tales and characters with a strong sense of honor, duty, intelligence, stoicism, and purpose. And there is a boatload of all these things in this franchise. And today, I'm firing off some awesome examples and recommendations of Gears of War's expanded universe. Without further delay, strap on your gear, fire up those lancers, and let's stomp some grubs. For every character or world, an introduction. While the first Gears of War game was just the tip of the iceberg, with a story that dwelled extensively on atmospherics, the unknown, and characterization of the franchise's main cast, Gears of War Aspho Fields introduces readers to the legendary war hero Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago in a prequel to the games in general. A story that bounces from the present to the past as Marcus and Dom head into Aspho Fields in a crucial battle that will impact the Pendulum Wars. A 79-year-long conflict waged by the superpowers of Serra, the Coalition of Ordered Governments, and the Union of Independent Republics for the control of the planet's natural resources, namely emulsion, which is similar to oil. Now, a novel based on a video game is always a tough sell, no matter how wonderfully received the game is upon which it's based. But luckily, the task of writing its novelization, in fact all of them, fell upon the brilliant science fiction and military author Karen Travis, which I'm sure many of you folks may have heard of or know wrote stories for George Lucas's Star Wars Expanded Universe, many of which became fan favorites, and a few novels for the Halo Expanded Universe as well. Great Star Wars, by the way, I recommend reading them. Getting into the novel, the characterization in Aspho Fields is top-notch. There's a lot of information in here. You learn about Dom and brother named Carlos Santiago growing up with Marcus Phoenix and their parents seeing them in action in their youth, which makes only them more endearing as the action shifts to the present, while also fleshing out the world of Gears of War and gives a better understanding of the relationship between the army and those that decide to stay stranded outside. The story also includes a big secret, one that Marcus himself has sworn to keep, now dredged up from the past by an unexpected return of an old friend and comrade. Marcus and Dom can take anything the Locust Horde throw at them, but will their friendship survive when new details emerge around a very personal revelation? Published in October 2008 at roughly 400 pages, this is a genuine page-turner with more heart than you may expect, and should find a permanent spot beside the Gears of War games in the shelves. Now, if you watch this channel with any regularity or follow me on social media, you know all about the Gears of War comics, so I won't dwell on this one for too long. To those of you who are just joining us, Epic Games partnered with an independent comic book company, Wildstorm, publishing 24 issues of original storylines and an introduction series to one of the games. And the stories were written by comic graphic novel writer Joshua Ortega and Karen Travis as well. And one standout from the comic series is Gears of War, They Also Serve. This comic was released in late December 2010, it was the 15th comic in the series, and this tale takes us into the past with a story focusing on Marcus Phoenix's father, Adam Phoenix. Taking place 62 years into the Pendulum Wars, the biggest conflict in all of Gears of War's lore of history, as mentioned earlier, the story follows Adam, who is appalled by all the human carnage and is determined to find a preferable way to wage war. The COG has offered him a position in their weapons research agency, believing he can create a weapon that will end the war for good, but contends with the guilt of abandoning his brothers in arms for what many might view as an exit. This comic is a short read, but one of the finest stories from the series that you get to experience the Pendulum Wars, while telling a personal story about Adam, how the war has changed him, and just wants to complete the mission of ending it so his comrades can go home. A simple one-off story taking place during a fierce battle where a company of soldiers were responsible for keeping a small town and a road under their control with limited manpower and resources until reinforcements arrive. An interesting comic I recommend with solid build-up, good writing, action, and artwork, while also introducing one of the best characters in the franchise as well. Track down a copy and give this one a read. Gears of War Anvil Gate released in August 2010, and this was the third book in the series. Now this one has it all, especially showing you how hard it is to survive in the Gears of War universe, more so than the games really portrayed. Sure, in the games it looks hard to survive most certainly, however the day-to-day stuff isn't really articulated, and that's what Anvil Gate hones in on. After the sinking of Jacinto, the last beacon of hope and stronghold for humanity from Gears of War 2, what's left of the coalition of ordered governments has fractured into 4 separate entities. The citizens of Pelruin, a town from a small island that was left untouched by the Locust Horde called Vectis, the Stranded, which are survivalist types, thieves, and pirates that do anything to anything sorts, the Union of Independent Republics, aka the UIR, and of course the COG. All attempt to make an uneasy alliance for the greater good, that being the survival of humanity. The story is told from the point of view of Damon Baird. His loyalty to Augustus Cole and Marcus really come to the fore here. You get more understanding of Baird's character. Dom is still broken over the loss of his wife Maria and begins to make amends of his self-loathing by attaching himself to Marcus. The relationship between Victor Hoffman and Bernie Mataki is more in depth here than in Gears of War 3. You also get to see more about Marcus's childhood, his mother, Elaine Phoenix, and how Anya Stroud's mother, Helena Stroud, and Adam Phoenix served during the Pendulum Wars, including the plot of the long and deeply unpleasant siege of Anvil Gate itself, while giving a better insight into Victor Hoffman's nature and personality than any of the games had time to. Anvil Gate kind of brings all the little strands together and ties the knots. Little questions about the universe and the main characters from playing the games are answered here in a solid, cohesive tale. Additionally, it's the least action-packed of the novels, a slower-paced, more life drama-like with so much danger looming around the corner, particularly from a dastardly foe, and you get a clear glimpse at how dangerous this new enemy is, and how what little peace after Gears of War 2 is now gone as well. And this book doesn't pull any punches, it's tough with blood and guts aplenty. Far and away, give this one a go. In some fashion, if you've been following Gears of War lore, you probably may have heard of the name The Slab and its association with Marcus Phoenix. Or if you've played Gears of War 3's multiplayer mode, this was the name of one of the maps from the game's season pass of downloadable content. Here's the gist. The Slab was a moniker for Jacinto's maximum security prison, and it was the prison Marcus Phoenix was put away in after his sentence. Which brings me to my next recommendation, The Slab, the fifth and final novel of the series. This novel gives an even deeper grasp of Marcus Phoenix, telling a story mostly set in the past leading up to and during Marcus's incarceration. More insight into the depths of Marcus's crime, what was lost in his futile attempt to save his father, why Hoffman reacts viscerally to Marcus's betrayal, and just what his friends will do to try and free him, including answering one prevalent question about the character.
Wait, how did you get that scar?
All remaining questions that you or fans might have about Marcus Phoenix is in here. However, the biggest takeaway from The Slab is the extra attention to Richard Prescott, the complex honorable chairman of the COG. As a matter of fact, Chairman Prescott is the most intriguing character in this book. Prescott has only 3 scenes in Gears of War 2 and a couple brief moments in the beginning of Gears of War 3, but Prescott's scenes, notably in Gears of War 2, are divided in a way where his presence is kind of felt throughout the game, almost as if he's one of the main supporting characters even though he's really just the leader who only has a few moments. And Karen Travis puts Chairman Prescott under a microscope, similar to what she does to Hoffman in Anvil Gate, getting a better insight into his persona, while also answering some pretty big questions about him, like regarding the mystery of the infamous New Hope research facility. This has a lot of details about Prescott, and the writing in no way changes your admiration or your hatred of him, but leaves it up to you to think about his decisions and actions. Furthermore, the book sheds light on Anya Stroud, showing how it came to be with her and Marcus, with a glimpse into each character's thoughts and feelings on the other, Adam's many failures as a man, and the rest deals with the Slab itself, with inmate family dynamics with Marcus. One gripe personally with the book, it could have done without the final chapter, as it's just a rehash of the first level of Gears of War, and the second to last chapter ends the novel perfectly. Overall, The Slab is solid and a great read. Go for it. For every good story, people want to know how the story ends, and after decades of hopelessness, gritty, and dark environments as far back as its people can remember, is there any hope left, or is Sarah doomed? Those are a couple of the main questions from the games that my next recommendation aims to answer, and that is Coalition's End. Released in August 2011, this one, the fourth published in the series, is a prequel to Gears of War 3. Not much really changes throughout this novel. Humanity is surviving onslaughts of enemies and gradually getting weaker. The salvation of these people is hinted at in the form of a secret, which is not answered in here, but is obviously reserved for the game it's tied to, which is Gears of War 3. The most noticeable and really good aspect about Coalition's End is the novel's pessimistic tone. A tale about the last humans on the planet of Sera and their decline toward extinction is quickened as each day and each chapter of the novel continues. There's people constantly dying with no one to replace them, resources running out, and law and order starts to go down the drain. You also, needless to say, find out a lot about the characters that this novel works with, and it creates the bulk of the meaning of the plot. This is a character story. You get to experience this narrative from multiple points of view. From Augustus Cole to Damon Baird to Marcus to Dom, Bernie to Hoffman, Anya, Chairman Prescott, they're all here, including Samantha Byrne. Her backstory is in this. And the whole read is how each of the characters and mankind reacting to the reality of a situation. Being one of only a few thousand people left, family being long gone, and no apparent light in the distance. And each character deals with these things in a different way. Survival is the theme of this novel, and Coalition's End shows humanity in its darkest pit while it refuses to surrender and lose hope. This is a very nice read, filled with suspense, action, secrets, and betrayals to keep you invested and leaving you wanting more. And it's a good prequel to Gears of War 3. Read it, collect it, buy it.
So I'm observing them and I'm watching how they interact, the way they use language. I mean, there's some really telling things. There's a wonderful line in one of the games where they're looking for the Junker and they're walking down the street through stranded territory, and Marcus says, "Are you sure this is going to work?" or something like that, and Dom turns around and says, "I won't let you down." He doesn't say, "Yeah, it'll be okay." He says, "I won't let you down," which tells you everything about that guy. You want a character that's consistent with the world. It does create its own sense of reality. It's got its own internal ecology of facts. The soldier, as I depict them, everything I do is military fiction, is honest and true to the men and women in uniform. And the mail I get back tells me that I've done that, and that is my biggest reward, that I've told the truth.
So there you have it, folks, an introduction to the Gears of War mythos. The Gears of War EU history is near perfect, from the depth of information given about characters, the relationships with each other, the tone, to the world of Sera. It's honest, raw, and believable, and all entries fit into the games logically. Even better, all of it is standalone, unlike most notably modern franchises that demand you to read or watch some other media in order to make sense of the main source, which is just bad writing and writers not getting their priorities straight. None of these stories do that. You can read them if you want to, and read them you should. The books rule if you want to see the world of the games expanded upon. All done by a single creative team with a consistent vision, and not some hacks hired to churn out tie-ins, books, or comics just to make a buck from fans. If you want to learn more about Gears of War, or looking for some classical literature with untrammeled heroism and no bullshit page-turning action, then embrace the Gears of War Extended Universe. And until next time, this is Omaha, signing off.
We set it up as far as who these guys were, what this universe really was. We established it, and now we're really kind of able to explore and kind of, have their own story arcs and see where it goes. And it's a little dark.
Yeah, but I think it's something that players are going to connect to.